Hi everyone, this is Ayushi welcoming you to Conversations with Commentary. The pandemic has drastically shifted our lives and we now live in a new normal. While we are all addressing our physical health because of COVID 19, the virus has also brought to our focus the importance of understanding mental health. So we sat down with Dr. Deepti to have a conversation around the same. Dr. Deepti is born and raised in Bhopal, where she did her bachelor's degree, followed by a master's in clinical and health psychology in the United Kingdom, after which she did her PhD in international psychology with a focus on stigma and depression. Her interests are research and understanding cross cultural psychological processes. She is currently in practice in the United States of America and her work involves cognitive rehabilitation and clinical psychology. So, if you want to understand more about what psychology is, what mental health is, the pandemic fatigue, how all of this has impacted our emotions and internal health, then this is the video for you. What else? You might also be able to have a better insight and understanding of your own mental health. So, with that, let's take you straight to the conversation.
How did your journey with psychology begin and how it has been? Were you always this clear about that? Were you always clear that this is what you want to do in life? You want to get into psychology and study this? How was your journey?
Um, I always knew that I wanted to do psychology. Yes, I not always knew, but after my high school, I finished my high school. I I knew that this is the field I would like to, pursue. So that's why I did my bachelor's in psychology, and after that, I kept furthering my education in psychology. So my professional life has not been like a linear chart that oh this and after this, but yes, it has been in psychology. I'm happy with psychology. I like practicing psychology, and uh, yes, I'm happy with my choices.
Shah Khan says in that movie, Love You Zindagi, that, दिमाग का doctor, so either family will report as somebody else or be like दिमाग का doctor है, तो सब पागलों से deal करता है. I hope you didn't get something like that then.
It's not that I didn't get any of that. Dimag ka doctor hai factor I also got from people, friends, and to be honest, it is dimag ka doctor. Because the psychology is a study and the study of human brain. It's the study of nervous system with how you behave and study of emotion and behavior. So it is dimag ka doctor. But I know what are you referring to the stigma that comes with it, that oh tum bhi pagal ho jaoge agar tum too much if you stay with them, that kind of thing. I have heard of it, I have faced it, but I don't think it came in my way. It didn't come in my way that oh the marker doctor so leave everything, oh it's too much to bear. It's like hey, it is what it is.
So again, like to expand on this aspect a little bit that you were talking about, that psychology is about the study of brain and emotions. Can you expand on that a little bit to establish a better understanding, like a broadened perspective of psychology?
So psychology is the study of nervous system, the human brain, and human behavior, emotions. So it is a study of that, and how you make meaningful relationships in society, how you behave in society, how you conduct yourself relative to your society. Psychology is a study of that in more broader terms. What our emotions are like. Are we able to cope with stresses, and are we able to cope with everyday life situations, and how we cope? It is a study of that. So that's the more broader view of psychology, according to me. That's what I think. When you talk about heavier or more like illnesses, mental illnesses, we all have mental health. That's when you get into bipolar disease, anxiety disorder, depression, clinical depression. So those things are illnesses. We
Right.
all have mental illness, but some people have disorders. And those are more like, you have to diagnose and test for it. And just like a physical health, just like you have to get diagnosed for diabetes or heart conditions, mental health is just like that. If you're going through something that's more than just regular mental health, everyday health, then you have to get diagnosed by a professional. And
I think even about mental health, the understanding is not very clear that mental health is not merely about your thoughts. Of course, it stems from that, but your emotions, your social well-being, the societal aspects, and all of that combines in the environment you are in. All of that then adds to your thoughts, and that is it's a holistic thing. Mental health also is a holistic thing. Like if
I would 100% agree with that. Yes. It's a more holistic thing. So let's take COVID as an example. Everybody's life has been very deeply, profoundly impacted by COVID-19. We cannot go out the way you used to. Freedom doesn't mean the same thing. You're not as free to, move around in a society. You're not as free to travel. Everything has been impacted. People have lost their jobs, so many things. So environment, it definitely has impacted our mental health. Everybody's. You are stressed, you're thinking more. Some people feel more confined in their homes. They're like more used to going out. So of course, our environment definitely impacts our psychology and well-being. People are not able to meet their friends and socialize the way they used to. So all those factors. So yeah, it's a more holistic thing. How you are contributing to your society, how you are an asset to your let's not say asset, how you are having conversations on day-to-day life, in your day-to-day lives, how you are dealing with everyday life situations, distress and stress. All of that comes into mental health. And your emotional well-being. Some days you're not feeling well. We all have days when we are feeling sad and anxious, like if you have a big interview coming up, you are not the same person that you were last week, because you're like, oh, what will I say? You're going through those feelings. So yes, it is a study about emotions and how you're coping with those emotions and situations.
do you think after the lockdown happened, after Corona happened, have people's perception shifted or has the highlight come more on mental health?
um See, I live in the West,
Hmm.
and here mental health is not as it is at the forefront. We could do more. Definitely it needs more awareness everywhere in the world, but I think it's already talked about. It's mostly accepted. But in India, if my observations have been that India has grown somewhat in terms of mental health. They are accepting it more, they're talking about it more, there are movies. It's become part of somewhat, a small part of the popular culture, which it was not, let's say, 10, 15 years ago, not as much. I also think that whenever something is coming in focus or something is given attention in society, it is a reflection of what is going on in society. So now, let's say from the past generation compared to the past generations, our stress levels are higher, our working lives are different, our distresses are more, everything is different. So there is stress in society. People are going through more stress, and there's more competition to do things. So it's a reflection of it was just a natural progression for mental health to come to surface and people wanting to talk about it, because people are looking for solutions, right? When you go through something, stress was much less, let's say 50 years ago. Stress levels were much lesser. So now the stress levels have increased in the current present day world. So people are looking for solutions. So that's why they're talking. So that's why we see, oh, mental health. So what is anxiety? Anxiety was not a term when my mom was growing up, right? But now it is. Everybody's like, yes, yes, yes. What's anxiety? Oh, I'm having this, I'm feeling very low today, depression, autism. And like autism, kids going through school, having social problems. attention disorder, all of that, because people are talking about it, looking for solutions. So it's a direct reflection of what is actually happening in society, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So I was just asking that from your, because psychology also, I think, as we were talking now, it is about emotions and thoughts. So it also involves a lot of conversations with people, and having having somebody in the same room, I think, definitely makes it different, and you have a better conversation, so to say. So how has your experience been different through the lockdown? Has it been easier to sort of reach out to more people? One aspect is that, and the other, how has it been? Has it been more challenging to have those kind of conversations and have people share their thoughts online?
Okay. Um, I think that I do see the positive sides of COVID in terms of how families have come closer. People were not spending as much time with each other. Friends were not calling and checking up on each other, how you're doing, the small talk. That was not happening as much. Relationships have become more, I think, in my experience, stronger, or, because this was such a, like I said, such an impactful event in everybody's life, that it kind of brought you closer to what life really is for you. What is the meaning of life? What are you running around for? What is the rat race for? It just kind of brought you home again. It felt, you kind of got time to introspect and see that, I'm running around, not spending time with my family for what? Or, I am not able to see my kids grow up for what? Like, you've gotten time to think about all those things. And so I think I definitely see that side of it, that it has given you time, and it has given you time to think about these things, COVID, the pandemic. um, so yes, online telehealth, as we call it, telehealth, online counseling, online conversations have become more common. They were not. I used to go to work every day and, have conversations with people or meet people in person. I still do that. But people are more open to it, because in some way we have been forced, right? It is, the pandemic happened, we have to make adjustments. So yes, people are more open-minded about it. People are okay with it. In some ways, they are finding it more convenient that they don't have to leave their homes. As a professional, psychology professional, I think that sometimes you want people to leave their homes and come to the therapist office. You want them to leave their house, because certain disorders like depression or anxiety, you want them to go through that process of getting up, because some of the symptoms are that they're not waking up for days. They're not, they're just sitting on their couches, or they're not as motivated. So you want to kind of, ask them to do all those things, get up, move, come to the office. So that side is also there, but in my opinion, I think so far it is good. People are finding it convenient. It is, and I think it has made it more accessible, because it's online. More people are doing it because it's much easier to have a conversation in a safe place.
Right. And during the lockdown, did you, like you were saying, that sometimes when it comes to things like especially depression or anxiety, you at times have to make sure you're the person to move out, and there has to be a change of the space. So during the lockdown, was it a bit challenging when there was a lot of enforcement and the restrictions were a bit more strict? So, it was not possible to move out and people were just stuck in their homes or even rooms if they were living in smaller spaces. So, did you encounter anything like that, sort of a challenge?
I did I encounter that with a patient. I did hear some professionally also and personally also, like my friends or relatives, or friends in India, and professionally also. There was some. I was hearing that people are getting tired, the COVID-19 fatigue, the pandemic fatigue. They were getting a little tired of staying at home, of the restrictions, and they understood the value in it. They understood how important that is. But at the same time, I felt like, yes, I want to get out. I want to go back to work. It's too much. I can't stay confined within the house. It's too much for me because people are used to doing things. People are
Yeah.
used to, everyday life. And so when you take out all of that from their lives, the drama is missing now. There's no drama in life. Yeah, it's very simple. You watch TV, you sleep, you eat, you have a conversation within your family members, and then. So yes, I did hear people complaining or talking about it or not being happy about it. That it is getting too much. So yes.
Yeah, something like that, or otherwise, post pandemic, just generally some interesting anecdote, maybe through your journey of psychology as well, maybe, or while since after you started practicing, maybe some interesting anecdote or an interesting experience that happened with you, something that you might remember or that stuck with you.
But I think people are looking at you more because it's human nature to judge or understand the other person or people around you. So with the mask, when you don't see the person, you're having a hard time, you just see their eyes. I think people are looking at you more deeply, or they want to somehow know who the person behind the mask is, like what do they look like, or are they smiling or not smiling. So I just feel like that people are more curious to understand who's the, because this is just so human to know who you are talking to, what does this person look like they can see your clothes, they can see your shoes, but they cannot see you. So I think I found that funny sometimes. They're trying to like be more, because when you're regular, not without a mask, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, they're people. But now they're like more interested. And I think the focus has gone on other things, like which mask you are wearing. Some people are, have social messages on them, okay, so, or some people have smiles. So uh, that's very interesting to see. And I see a lot of funny masks. So that's a funny anecdote, I guess, but not some story doesn't come to mind. I'm sorry.
No, no, that's right. I remember one of the, I think I saw somewhere on some post wherein a restaurant is offering a mask which has a zip here. So, like, you can just
Yeah.
open up.
Like the Halloween look, right? The Halloween look where you
Yeah,
open this.
yeah. But yeah,
Yes,
I
yes.
think that is also one thing people, while it has been challenging, but I think this also allowed people to be a little more creative with stuff and try to be a little innovative with things and see how what they can do with the time they have, and go back to their hobbies maybe, or take out some time for things they like. Do you think that
Definitely.
happened?
I think that has happened a lot. So many people starting to cook and post their recipes. So many people taking up their old hobbies that they forgot about or didn't have the time to pursue, the creative stuff they are doing. People are calling up their friends a lot more often because, they want to talk to somebody or they have the time to. So yes, definitely, I think creatively, people are looking for something to, just let out their inner self and just create something. And so I have seen that a lot. Yes, yes, yes. I have done that myself. When it just hit us earlier this year, the pandemic, I have myself, okay, I want to paint this wall. I've been meaning to paint this, or I've been meaning to do this. I've been meaning to clean my closet. All of those things came to mind. So a lot got done during the pandemic, actually, for a lot of people. Things
That's
that were on the back burner, they are getting done. Chores are getting done. To-do lists are getting done. So yeah, that side is also there. Yeah.
Yes, I think that way for the perspective that has been good as well, because a lot of times when I've heard friends when they would go to for a therapy or they were not feeling well, so often they would just be like, I don't have time to just take a pause and or do some just randomly do a doodle or do a coloring thing and just relax myself. But now I think they didn't have that reason. So they didn't have time to just slow it down, take pause, and, make themselves feel better
Sure.
activities, maybe.
I agree with that. There's definitely a positive side to this whole pandemic in terms of people getting more time, taking a pause, getting a breather in life, and they were just in the rat race. And, now they're just thinking about introspecting, life goals, So this is definitely a positive side of that. And I think people will also realize if they want to pursue something. Sometimes you think, oh, I want to this A, B, and C, and this is what I want to do in life. And you get the time and you actually start pursuing it, you realize, oh, no, 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 I'm going back to what I was doing. Maybe this is not what I want to do anymore. So there are a lot of realizations in this process as well, that, because I would think, oh, I like planting, and, I should do more, planting and keep plants and take care of them. But maybe when I got the time to do it, I did it at to a certain level. And after that, I'm like, maybe I was not as crazy about it as I thought I was.
Yeah.
And it was before, it was always like, oh, I didn't have the time to do this and that. But once you got the time, like, there is a realization that, yeah, I like it, but it's not my passion. My passion is still something else.
Yeah.
Or so, yeah, that's there.
And although I'm sure it really differs person to person and like who's going through what, and according to that you must suggest, but do you have like some of your favorite activities which you often suggest to patients or clients, that some of the things that they must try when they're going through, say, depression or anxiety or something like that?
Yeah. My personal mantra, my personal suggestion to not just like professional patients, I tell people to take some time for themselves every day, even if it's just as little as 10 minutes. And take some time and make sure to laugh and smile every day, even if it's a bad day. I know some days are bad, and sometimes I know it's not possible every day. Read a funny joke. The internet and technology has given us access to so many things, right? Watch a funny video, watch a funny ad, read some funny memes, anything that makes you smile and laugh, you know and be thankful. That's another thing. I think it is very powerful to acknowledge what you have, because sometimes people don't acknowledge what they have. And if once you get in the habit of just acknowledging and being thankful for what you have, then I think that's a very, very good source of, uh, finding happiness, or it's a very good source of strength, I think. Because you have to take you have to draw strength from what you have. So that's my mantra, that try to laugh and smile for some reason every day, and take some time for yourself. And yes, if it's possible, just try to be thankful and acknowledge for what you have.
I agree. I think that even with the social media, there are both sides to it. There is this side, there are memes which definitely, make you feel slightly better, even if it is for a brief moment. You feel better, you laugh, you smile. And then there is a whole another side to it where people are like, oh, there is so much information coming in that you don't realize how it's playing with your minds and your thoughts. And it's like you're feeling negative, you'll come across something similar, and then it just expands your negative thoughts as well, with a lot of misinformation, sometimes fake information, negative information. So what are your thoughts on that, about the consumption of information, or rather an overconsumption that we have from social media?
We definitely are living in a world of a lot of information. A lot of information. There is a lot of misinformation out there. And one good example of this situation is when I have noticed in my observations, I've seen that a lot, when you're going through some medical problem, let's say you start having headaches and they're not going away for 4 days, and you start looking for answers. Headaches for 4 days on Google, you've typed. And then it says, oh, it could be migraine, it could be cancer, it could be a hemorrhage. You're on a spiral, right? You're snowballing from one to the next, to the next, to the next. Okay, it could be cancer. So are you having headaches on the right side or the left side? Is the eyes hurting? So because you are reading all kinds of information, and then you're making assumptions, and then you're drawing conclusions after that. Oh, maybe I have this. And that is not something you want. You don't want this was just an example, small example of how people go on a roll of misinformation. But yes, even in general, if you're not looking out for information, you're just on social media and reading, there is a lot of misinformation. And I think the technology world is doing things to, to stop misinformation from getting out, and, not letting people post misinformation. But you can only stop so much. So I think it is your own personal responsibility in some way to see where do you want to stop, where do you want to draw the line, that what you want to believe, what you don't want to believe. So I think that's a personal responsibility. The information is out there. How you use it is totally on you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I absolutely agree with that. But also, how has social media affected, like, it could be in a positive way or a slightly negative, with people's mental health, their emotional health? You've been
I think there
tracking
are pros and
how you have across this. Yeah.
I think there is definitely pros and cons both to this, to social media. Um, so I think technology is great. I personally love technology. It connects people. It gives you access to things. It gives you opportunities. You can learn a lot more. So I love technology for a lot of reasons. At the same time, with social media and technology, I think that emotionally it can impact people, because especially the young people, because they're very vulnerable at this time, and they are going into adulthood, still learning about life, and things about around them. So it's very easy to fall into the trap of, so and so is doing this, I need to do this, or they are wearing this, I need to wear this, because the identities are not fully formed. When you are in that young age, identities are not fully formed at that time. So you are very vulnerable to any information that comes to you. You're very vulnerable to be, uh, what is the word for that? You soak in the information and apply it to yourself very quickly, I think. So
Yeah.
that is one of the wrong sides, that people get very competitive. Competition is not a bad thing. It's comparison is also not a bad thing. Everything, if it's done in with reason, with reasonable mindset, I think, because as social creatures we have to compare ourselves. We have to, because we are all relative to our environment. So
True.
yeah, but at the same time. I think that's one of the cons, that people go into this rat race. Everything is a competition. She is posting pictures, so I have to post pictures. She is going on a vacation, so I have to go on a vacation. He is wearing Nike shoes, so I have to. I do not recommend that, but I know that's one of the things, because people have so much access to the other person's life,
True.
so much access to, uh, yeah, to what's happening in everybody's life.
Everybody's like, yeah, that is true. So, as you talked about how we start applying things to ourselves, and before that, we were also talking about doing our own analysis at times. So, also, now it is good that we have so much information available. When we don't know, we can, reach out. But do you think that also people end up over analyzing or like wrongly analyzing, maybe that, oh, I'm going through depression? Maybe they might not be yet, but I'm not again, not discouraging it, definitely, but I just feel at times the self diagnosis is not always right, and people end up misinterpreting sometimes. So they should actually seek professional help rather than just making their assumptions, because that could be a little harmful as well. But like, what are your thoughts? And if you've encountered maybe people going for this, doing their own analysis and their own diagnosis at times of
Sure,
depression.
self-diagnosing is a thing. Yes, it is definitely a thing. People do it all the time. So I would say self-awareness is very good. In fact, it's recommended. You should be aware of what you're feeling, how you are behaving, and how what your emotional health is like at any given time. So self-awareness is very important. It's recommended. Self-diagnosing is not. Yes,
Yeah.
self-diagnosing is not. If you feel like, if anybody feels like that there are certain symptoms, if there are certain things that are bothering them, they should consult a professional to understand, because misinformation again can have bad effects, can have detrimental effects. Instead of going in the right direction, you could go in the wrong direction. And so yes, I definitely believe in that. Self-diagnosing, self-awareness important, but self-diagnosing not recommended. Go consult a professional. And sometimes I think the starting stuff, especially with in terms of talking about stigma of mental illness, if you feel like that you're not able to talk to a professional at this point, or if it's not accessible for any reason, talk to a confidant, talk to a friend. Just have somebody else hear you out loud, and you yourself hear out loud yourself. When you talk, a lot of you can process a lot when you're talking.
Yeah.
So that's the starting point. But yes, take baby steps, take little steps towards getting a professional help, because they are trained, they can help you before it gets worse. So yeah, it's recommended.
I hope today's video helped you gain a better insight and a broader perspective of mental health and added value in some way to your life. We will be back with part 2 of this conversation, where we will understand depression, anxiety, other mental disorders, and what are some of the resources that one can consider while dealing with mental health. So stay tuned for that.